60% of the time, it works every time.
What's up, everybody? It's the Thegoal60 here for week 12, 2019 college football season. Mike will join me again, and we're going to give our best plays of the week, our opinions and takes on who you should bet. So with that said, Michael, thanks for joining, and I'll go ahead and let you start up, man.
Yes, sir, man. The season's going quick. We're already here, getting to week 12.
Yeah.
So, all right, starting it off tonight, I'm going to go with a team that has been struggling this year, and that's UCLA under Chip Kelly. They're getting 27 points against Boise State. I think that's just too many. You would think that UCLA would show up and have some type of offense, under Chip Kelly and get things going a little bit. I like UCLA plus 27.
Well, they're taking on Utah this week. UCLA is, right?
Oh, Utah. Sorry, I got these sheets right here, and they're so close together. So yeah.
All right, so UCLA against Utah. I like that play. I almost took it myself. My first play of the week is actually going to be a teaser, so I'm going to go to the
20
in that teaser. Yeah, so
That's
UCLA
20.
plus 20.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and talk about both teams I've got in this teaser. It's one play, and the first part of it is Ole Miss. I really think they catch LSU here on a letdown after playing so good last week on the road. LSU goes back on the road this week to Oxford, and I just like taking this line for 21.5. I'm doing a 7-point teaser, taking it up to 28.5. The other leg of that, I'm going to go with Nebraska. I'm going to go with another home team catching more than 2 touchdowns. I'm taking Nebraska plus 14.5 up to 21.5. So that's my 2 teams in that teaser.
Actually, I have 2 teams. I'll finish the rest later on. But I'm going to go head to head while you're on that subject there. I think my play there was to tease LSU down to 13. Depending on where you can get the line. It's doing a 7-point teaser, maybe 14 right now. I think it's at 21. But if it drops, it, you can get it right underneath 14. And then, who was that other one right there you just said?
I put Nebraska against.
Oh yeah. Nebraska against Northwestern.
Wisconsin.
Oh, Wisconsin. Man, I'm off this week, dude. I actually took Wisconsin down on that.
I got you.
All right, I'm gonna stay with the straight plays here, Clayton, and that is gonna be Kentucky. I'm taking Kentucky this week. I think they come back. I got them at I believe -8.
Yep.
And I like them straight up against the spread.
I got you. I'm also going SEC, and I'm going to South Carolina. I just, for whatever reason, I like this play here. I think this is a good spot for South Carolina against A&M to bounce back after losing to App State. App State's not a bad team. Obviously, the SEC school should have won that game, but I'm going to take them plus 11 against A&M.
I got you. Moving on, another against the spread here. I'm taking San Diego State. I know everybody's like, what, San Diego State? But they've been good to me this year on some just, Saturdays where I'm like, you know what, I want to bet some more. So San Diego State isn't good to me. They play Fresno State at home this week. So I'm taking San Diego State -2.
I got you. My next play is going to the Big 12. If anybody's watched our videos the last 2 years, I have been a big fan of Matt Rule and what he's doing at Baylor. And I'm taking Baylor plus 10. This is against Oklahoma. Oklahoma, by all accounts, has been scoring. They ought to be able to outscore Baylor. I like that defense at home. Getting 10 points against Oklahoma, I'm taking Baylor.
I got you, and I'm right there with you, Clayton. Actually, that was one of mine. Against the spread. And going back against the spread, I actually I put LSU straight up minus 21 in there because I could see them covering it. They are pretty dominant right now, and I think their defense just shuts Ole Miss down. I just don't think they won't score that many points. Probably 14 to 17 points at most. I could see LSU scoring 42, 50 points on Ole Miss.
Okay.
So that was one of them against the spread. And since we knocked that one out, I'm moving on to Notre Dame.
Okay.
Notre Dame versus Navy this week. Notre Dame's minus 9.5. I think they got to do something if they want to be heard this late in the season. I think they covered 9.5.
I got you. My next play is going to be staying in the Big 12. I think a team that's kind of flown under the radar quite a bit here is Texas Tech. And last week they really played well. They're at home this week, catching 3.5 against TCU. I'm going to take Texas Tech. Also, you look at this game in turnovers. In Power 5 games, TCU is -3 in the turnover margin, and Texas Tech is +8. I really like that play, and I think Texas Tech gets it done, gets an outright win right here.
Absolutely, and I believe they started out. Hadn't that line moved a good bit since it came out, Clayton?
It's moved up and down for sure. I know it's moved at least a couple points.
Because I got Texas Tech here circled as well. I think that they get the win outright as well. That'd be a good play this weekend. Another game I'm going to talk about here is Georgia and Auburn. Georgia is in that playoff 4 spot. They got to beat Auburn. It's going to come down to the Georgia LSU SEC championship. I think Georgia minus 2.5.
Yeah, I like that, and I think Georgia's got a lot to play for there, a lot to prove to everybody because everybody's already assumed that they're going to lose to LSU in the SEC championship, and they got a lot to play for. Alabama sits in a really good spot, by the way. I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but they sit in a great spot. My next game, I'm going to Big Ten. I played against Penn State last week with Minnesota. They took care of business. I'm going right back against them this week with I'm getting +15 against Penn State. I think Indiana can score. I'm taking them plus more than 2 touchdowns.
I got you. That was actually one of my teaser suggestions in that game. I was going to tease Penn State down in that play. That was my thoughts on that game because Penn State, they gonna have to do something. 15 is a lot, but if they want to come back, they can still make it. I know it's a long shot, but they could still make it. Let's see, moving on here. My next play is going to be a total here. And I'll have to look it up. Let's see here because it wasn't on my sheet. I believe it's at 69, but you can help me out with that. But it's Arizona State and Oregon State. I've been hot on Oregon State all year. I think Arizona State's going to win the game, but I think it's going to be some scoring. Is what now?
58.
Yeah, I think it's going to go well over here.
I got you.
I think Arizona State can put up 40-something points, and Oregon State will put up at least 28.
I got you. I like it. My last play of the week is going in the ACC, and it's Syracuse and Duke. Now, most people are going to look at this game and just automatically take Duke, and they're -10.5. I'm going the opposite way. I think Syracuse does just enough to stay inside that 10.5. I like them getting that many points. Even though it's on the road and they haven't played great this year, I'm taking Syracuse plus 10.5.
I actually have that as well, and I have that as a teaser suggestion to tease it up to 17.5. Let's see here. I don't know if I mentioned this one or not, but it's another SEC game. This is Florida at Missouri. I think Florida takes care of business and gets the win. I'm going with the spread there. I believe it was 6.5 last time I checked, wasn't it?
Yep, it was. It opened up around 7.5. It has moved towards the but now the value is on Florida at getting them under a touchdown.
Absolutely. So I think Florida -6.5. And that was also, and I'm going to lead into this, if you're done with yours against the spread, I'm going to lead into suggestions that I have for some teasers. And that's Florida's one of them. If you can tease them down to get up under, or, tease Missouri up if you think otherwise. But in my opinion, I'm going to take Florida tees down just to win the game outright. I think that's a good play there. Um, Moving on, I got Georgia Tech from plus 5.5. Moved up against Virginia Tech. I took them last week. They've been well for me. I've taken them the past 2 weeks actually, and both times they've covered. Maybe the past 3 weeks. I'll have to look back. I know it was 18, 15, and I think 18 again.
Yep.
The past 3 weeks. So I like Syracuse teased up to plus 17.5. Also, I didn't mention this, but I like Louisville. Moving down this list, I like Louisville minus 3.5 against North Carolina State. I think Louisville will dominate North Carolina State. I do like Minnesota plus 3, but that's also a good teaser play to move up to plus 10. Wake Forest against Clemson. I think 30 is too much. I think if you tease Wake Forest up to 37, I think that's a smart play. Georgia Southern against.
Moved a ton. That line opened up around 35 on Clemson. It's moved all the way down to 30.
So if you tease Wake Forest up, I think you're all right. Georgia Southern against UL Monroe. Georgia Southern minus 7. I'm teasing Georgia Southern down to even. I think Georgia Southern gets the win. To be honest with you, I circled them because I like them. If you can buy them down to 6.5, I think they cover that as well. Georgia Southern's played well this year. And another team that's played well this year is Troy against Texas State. 8 might be pushing it. I teased it down. If you can get Troy minus 1, I think you're safe there. Again, UCLA playing Utah. If you want to tease them up to plus 27, that's where I got the 27. Against Utah, I think that's a good play. North Carolina against Pittsburgh. North Carolina plus 4.5. I think if you tease North Carolina up to 11.5, I think that's a smart play. I think that game's pretty close.
So on Thursday night, usually the old adage is Thursday dogs and Friday favorites.
Yep. I think you're safe with 11.5 against Pittsburgh. Let's see here. I told you about Notre Dame minus 9.5 against Navy. Texas against Iowa State. I think if you take Texas I know Iowa State, they played Oklahoma well, but it's going to be a rivalry game. It's a conference game. I think if you take Texas from plus 6.5, move them up to plus 13.5, I think you're safe. Of course, we talked about Texas Tech, Oklahoma. The Oklahoma game here. If you like, you can play this either way. I think Oklahoma gets the win, but I think it's tough. But I think it's close. I'm teasing Baylor up 7.5 points or 7 points to get what would that be? 15.5.
Plus 17 in some places.
Yep. Memphis against Houston. I like Memphis tees down. They're at 8.5 against Houston. I like Memphis tees down from 8.5 to 1.5. Or, like I said, vice versa. That's a good teaser game. I'm pointing these out, teaser games, for those out there listening. You can play this either way you want. I'm just giving you my view of the tease. If you think it's close, tease it the other way. If you fade me. If you think opposite, just tease it the other way. Let's see here. Michigan State against Michigan. I think if you tease Michigan State up from plus 14, get them around 21, I think that's a good play against Michigan. I think that's always been a back and forth game. It's kind of like the Iron Bowl.
Yep.
Not to that extent though. Like I said, Florida teased down against Missouri. I had Alabama teased down against Mississippi State. Alabama's going to make some noise to get back in that playoff system. Mississippi State was terrible. Auburn destroyed them. I think we're going to handle business, tease them down from 19 to 12. I think that's all day. Depends on how much Tua plays, though. If we're trying to rest him up, Nita might be smart. So, like I said, those out there, if you think or something like that might happen, let's tease it to Mississippi State up. Wisconsin against Nebraska. Like I said, I would tease Wisconsin down in that case, get them around 4.5. LSU, I like them against the spread, but I'd tease them down. Stanford against Washington. I like Stanford from plus 10 to plus 17. They usually play pretty tight.